So it's occurred to me that people often are curious and want to know, which is, natural, about things that are not normal or different. Which I use air quotes because I don't really know if being disabled can be considerable as being not normal, because actually a large percent of the population is disabled, and disability is kind of something that I think will affect everyone's life eventually, whether it's you or someone you love, or maybe someone in your family ends up being born with a disability of any sort, or maybe you just get old and you have to start using a wheelchair or whatever. It's something that is going to affect everyone at some point, so I don't really like that weird stigma. But anyway, I get a lot of questions on Tumblr and in real life, if I'm being honest, about what it's like to have a disability. So I decided that I would take today's vlog opportunity to talk about life being disabled. So, for starters, my disability is called osteogenesis imperfecta, which I've been told by a friend of mine that sounds like a Harry Potter spell. Osteogenesis imperfecta is basically the fancy way of saying brittle bones. So, my bones break easier than a normal person's would. There are, oh goodness, I am not an expert on my disability in the slightest, but there are a ton of different types. And I will link you below on YouTube to an official website where you can learn more about osteogenesis imperfecta if you would like to. But basically, there's a lot of different types. And I know that when I was born, the doctors couldn't give me a type because I'm in the middle of about 3 or something like that, because of course I am, right? I do know a fair amount of other people with my disability, to be honest. They're all quite a bit older than me, but it's just I've met them all from fate, and I know a lot of other people with different types of my disability just from reading articles in Facebook and stuff. And I'm very, very fortunate when it comes to my disability, because all of everything about my disability with me is just physical. I'm just deformed and not very strong. That's it. But there's a lot of other health issues that can come with it, like respiratory issues and heart issues and joint pains and pains in general. And a lot of other people are much more brittle than I am. So I was definitely very fortunate, I guess, to get this kind, because I'm kind of rough and tumble with myself, and so I don't know. I don't know what kind of shape I'd be in if I was more breakable. I was, however, much more brittle when I was younger. So when I got issued my first motorized wheelchair, I was 2 years old, and they call the little drivey thing on your chair, they call it a joystick. Please leave your innuendos outside. And I wasn't strong enough to even move that back then. And I think about that now, and they're so easy to move. I can't believe that was something I was unable to do. And it's that kind of brittleness, I suppose, that a lot of people with my disability have throughout their whole life, that sort of I sneezed and broke a rib type thing. So I'm very, very fortunate that I'm not that breakable. I definitely have my family to attribute to that, because they kept me safe without keeping me in a bubble. So I didn't break a lot when I was younger, and I was able to grow and get stronger. You have to consider that I was born with my disability. I didn't acquire it. So I don't know anything different. I don't know what it's like to go someplace without having to call them first to make sure they're accessible. People are always so fast to give me this cookie and a pat on the back for going anywhere or doing anything, because people are really into inspiration porn. They're like, wow, it's so inspiring that someone with a disability was able to get up this morning. And I think that's stupid, because I am no different than anyone else. This is just my normal. You were born with stronger bones than I was, but other than that, I don't know what that life is like. So that normal, that swinging your legs over the side of your bed and walking out of your house in the morning is your normal, whereas this is my normal. So I kind of want to get that across right now, right off the bat, that your normal and my normal equate to the same thing. I would say that the only thing in life almost that I've looked at and been like, wow, this really sucks, is a lot of geographical issues, honestly. A lot of places and just not being accessible. I'll give you a little story here. I applied to volunteer at a radio station this past summer, because that's what I go to school for, right? Broadcasting. And I was talking to the person over email a bunch of times, and I don't know why I didn't think to ask her about this. I really have no idea why this didn't cross my mind. I've done it every other time I've ever done anything in my life, but I just didn't ask if the building was accessible. I don't know. I guess because of the sort of group that the radio station is affiliated with, I assumed it would be. Long story short, I showed up to my first interview and my first run-through session where she was going to have me voice a couple of commercials and PSAs, and I get to the building and it was like super not accessible, like a big foot of concrete to get into the building. And they used this like sandwich board that was in the window to get me in, and it generally did not seem safe to me. And everybody in there was so nice, like such lovely people, but I ended up only going there like 3 times or something like that, because it didn't feel safe using that to get me in. So it's things like that. That for me is the one and only probably downside to being disabled, is the fact that the world is not built for people like me. The world doesn't know how to accommodate people who are disabled. And I see little changes happening all the time. Like here where I'm from now, all the city buses are accessible, which makes my life way easier. And so little things like that are starting to change, but I hope that by the end of my lifetime, the world is a lot more ready. There's a lot more ramps and back accesses and stuff available for people with disabilities. But I know that what you guys are mostly interested in is the social aspect of being disabled. Now, I am lucky because I have pretty thick skin, honestly. Like, things roll off me. I don't really get offended too easily, so being bullied when I was younger was never a problem because I was never self-conscious of my disability. You know, it's part of me. I don't really care. Like, I'm disabled and you have brown eyes, and that's it. And that's exactly what I would have said to someone if they wanted to pick on me. Like, whatever, I don't care. So that was definitely a positive thing about me, I would say. So I'm probably not the best person to talk to about being bullied, but there are some things that adults in my actual life now that I am a grown-up do that I'm, like, not cool with. First of all, I hate more than anything ever. It is my number one biggest bugaboo in life, if you will, being mistaken for other people with disabilities and assuming that I know other people with disabilities. Those two things sound so stupid, but they happen all the time. There was this woman from the same kind of region that I live in, and she had the same disability as me, but really other than that, like, we don't look anything alike. She and I had similar, like, face shapes, I guess, and similar head shapes, and I guess parts of our body were kind of similar, but she was fairly smaller than me and fairly larger around, and she had very short blonde hair. And not even that part is not even what bugs me. What bugs me even still is the fact that she was about twice my age. So she would probably, unfortunately she passed away a couple years ago, but if she was still here she would be in her 50s. So I would say 4 times out of 10 that I leave the house that I get mistaken for her. And not even just, hey, are you? I'm talking like people stop me and like hug me that I don't know. Make that physical contact, which is super creepy and super weird, and assume I'm her. That is so ignorant to just see someone in a wheelchair and just automatically think that they are this other person in a wheelchair, because how many handicapped people can there be in this area? It bugs me more than anything, and it bugs my friends more than anything too, because they know how much it bugs me. And it's even worse because these are often people who like would have gone to high school with her or something, and they're like, oh, I haven't seen you since we were in grade 10. And I'm like, okay, do I look like I was in grade 10 in the 90s? Like, really? I was being born in the 90s, come on. And it just bugs me so much. And then the other part that I was talking about there is assuming that I know other people that are handicapped, which blows my mind. How does that even make sense? Someone just today told me they were talking about someone somewhere that they knew that was in a wheelchair, and they're like, you probably heard of them. What? How? Why? How do I know this person just because they're disabled? That doesn't make any sense. Do you think that we all get together collaboratively, every human being that's in a wheelchair, we just like get together on like a Saturday night and just like bro out and watch CSI? Like, that doesn't happen. I don't understand. I really, really, really don't understand why people always assume that I know every other disabled person on the planet. It doesn't work like that. Another thing that I hate, number 2, okay, like, I understand you being curious and wanting to understand why someone's in a wheelchair. I mean, really, technically, my job is not to educate you when you see me in the mall. My job is just to be a human being that's in the mall. You have no right to come up to me and ask me why I'm handicapped anyway, but whatever, I'll play along for a minute. But more than once, I've been in the mall and people just like come up to me and put their hand on my shoulder and ask me, what happened to you? I was born. That's what happened to me. What happened to you? Oh, That one irks me, especially when it's adults. Like, little kids maybe haven't been around disability a lot in their life, and I understand that. I'm still not obligated to educate your children, but because they are children, I will at least do my best to try a little bit, or something, whatever. But, so I see it all the time. The little kids, like, staring at me through their mom's legs, and sometimes the mom, like, just lets them go and walk, like, right up to me and get, like, right in my face and stare at me. And sometimes the mom, like, shh, 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 shh. And that one, at least I appreciate that they're trying to be, like, discreet about it, but I wish parents spent more time educating their children about the fact that not everyone in the world looks just like your parents do or your siblings do. Like, there are people of different races and people of different levels of ability, and that's okay, and that's, I just wish that 8-year-old child, because it's not usually, like, little kids, it's, like, 9, 8-year-olds, you know, I wish that they didn't look at me in the mall like I'm a Martian, because I'm not. I'm actually really common. And, like I said, it's not my job to educate them, but because they're kids, I will try. It's worse when it's adults. It's way worse when it's adults. Number 3, if we're still numbering them, I hate people who, like, push their help on me. Why do you do that? I don't know if that constitutes as a social thing or not, but, like, if you offer me help and I go, no, I'm good, thanks, that means don't help me. That means don't force yourself on me. That means if I'm taking my backpack off the back of my chair, which I'm fully capable of doing unless I asked you for help or said yes when you offered your help, you know, don't take it off. That's not okay. My MacBook is in there. Go away. I just feel like I always have to prove myself as a hard worker and as a smart human being. That's why I always make sure that my makeup is done, my hair is done, my clothes are done. Like, I need people to be able to take me seriously, even though I'm in a wheelchair, because unfortunately, I feel like up until me, there hasn't been a lot of disabled representation, both in my area and in the world as a whole. Like, I can count the number of actors or actresses on one hand that I can name that are disabled, and most of them have Down syndrome, you know? So I feel like in a lot of these situations, it's up to me to help change these people's minds and help get rid of their ignorances. More than once, when I was in high school, teachers would tell me that I was their first experience with a student in a wheelchair, which is mind-boggling. I don't know how that happened, but whatever. And I know now that not only did I kind of change maybe any of the prejudices that some of them might have had to begin with, but my favorite part about that is going back to the accessibility thing, is that being around me makes able-bodied people think about the stuff that I have to deal with all the time. So I know one teacher in particular, she's moved schools, and she looks at the accessible stuff in her new school, and she'll look at it and go, well, Abby could never do that. Abby could never do this. And she, if it ever came down to it, she would work with the school, the new school that she's at, to make it actually accessible, because she has enough experience with me to know what a motorized wheelchair can do, what a motorized wheelchair can't do. And then after me, she's had students since me that have manual wheelchairs, so she has experience with that too. But it's just like, it's little things like that I don't think people realize until they know someone with a disability, and then the whole world is different. And it's more than just a parking space. And, so, yeah, that was kind of garbly goop. I had, like, a couple little points that I wanted to hit because I had a couple questions on Tumblr, but other than that, I don't know. Is there anything else you guys want to know? Any other questions you have? You feel free to shoot them over to me on Tumblr, and either tell me if you want me to make another video, like a part 2, talking about what it's like being disabled, or if you just have general questions that you want me to answer. Whatever, I would literally love to do that. I also do beauty videos, as you know now, with like makeup and stuff, because it's fun. And then I also talk about Sailor Moon stuff, as you guys know. So basically, if you have any ideas for any kind of video ever, I will probably do it, so shoot them below or to me over on Tumblr, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!